Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. Major roster updates going down yesterday, especially EnVy noted with potentially their full roster of 5 now going into next season. The big changes they will be forced to make with Kane gone and Ion going into the new year. A couple of interesting roster rumours emerging over the last few days, which players could be invited and which players are being invited to trials as it stands. Some other big updates on the day as well, certainly with regard to tournaments that are just around the corner. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always, I greatly appreciate it. G2 tweeted this out yesterday, a year of domestic dominance. 28 regional matchups they played, 26 of which they won. There was a bit of drama. I was a little bit surprised to see it, but because of course the Game Changers World Championship is on right now, the implication here was that G2 were tweeting about other things rather than their GC team. I think they did tweet about their GC team the other day, and well, they had a match after this tweet 35 hours after the tweet. They didn't even play yesterday, so I'm not really sure why that was a massive concern, but we'll talk about what's happening right now. So the World Championship for Game Changers out there in Seoul. The time zone's not optimal for many, and there was some talk about the viewership on this tournament so far as well. We'll see where it stands really at the end of the weekends. But MIBR, Game Changers played Giant X. They got the 2-1 win in the end. It went to a split. It was 13-5. Before that, it was 13-8 on the Haven, then 13-11 on the Abyss. So, you know, MIBR GC, one of the teams that have been considered some of the more heavily favoured for the tournament. They get the victory there. This is how things then currently look in the bracket from top to bottom. So Carmine Core, they got the win against Zipto. As I say, G2 goes and they play tomorrow morning, right? So I'm not really sure G2 did much wrong with their tweet. But yeah, Liquid are currently playing Crew. Shopify Rebellion then, of course, one of the other key favourites. They will play against MIBR in the next round, as many expected. So those are all the upcoming games. Team Liquid versus Crew Blaze, currently a 1-0, probably about to be a 2-0 on the evidence of the bind. 9-3 half so far, but who knows? Anything can and maybe will happen. There's also been a bit of talk about Harbour. So they made these big Harbour changes the other day, moving in a direction that looked like it was going to be more promising. He was able to near sight. Okay, a couple of things he lost, a couple of things he gained. Certainly as a controller, the lack of quality smokes compared to some of his other controllers or some of the other controllers makes him probably less viable as a solo controller. But there was some talk about, okay, maybe Harbour as a secondary controller could be very valuable. But actually, you know, with playing around with him a little bit, some of the coaches, the analysts, the players aren't so convinced that he's going to do much, right? Like, you know, as Six says, I said this since the first day in reply to EnVy that Harbour's got worse, should have kept everything the same and just made the smoke change. Old which he can now kind of put where he wants, like Omen. Old Ultimate and Cascade was better than the new replacements, he says. So, yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. And Anders as well, kind of free agent strategist, he says some similar things. Obviously, he's got his perspective, his opinion on why some things maybe needed to change or other things didn't need to change. But the point is that he doesn't feel like Harbour gets any more viable with the changes that have been made. We'll see in time whether that proves to be true or not. But if the analysts, if the coaches, if the players aren't so convinced, then nothing's probably going to happen with Harbour arriving into the meta. The other big update yesterday, and I wonder what inspired this change, is Quick, or, you know, QCK, changing, and he had loads of copy pastas and everything, and maybe he had a little bit of a reputation, but he's changed his nickname. So he's going from Quick to Ambition. And as he says, another fresh start in my career. I believe this is the perfect time for it. Now with my new nickname, I'm already coming back with the daily streams and new videos with plenty of frequency and all this stuff. Leave the links below. So I thought this is kind of hilarious really, because look, it worked for Baby J, right? Like it did work for him really. He went from Baby J, he had a reputation, and about, you know, like obviously talking about he was a great sentinel, he definitely deserves to be in the league and all this. But did Baby J find success because he changed his name? Would he have made it work anyway? Because, look, Baby J was effectively of the opinion that, well, he's a good enough sentinel to be in the Pro League, and if no one wants to give him an opportunity, then he will wait around for someone to see the obvious, as it were. But then he decided, okay, that ain't going to happen. I'm going to have to play Ascension. I'm going to have to play Challengers. He did. He built a team. They were called the Rankers. They then became EnVy. Now they're in the Pro League, right? So I don't know if that was necessarily to do with him changing his name to Inspire, But what we can say is that that change inspired this one, you would imagine. And it's funny that they're similar, right? Because you've got Baby J going to Inspire, and then you've got Quick going to Ambition, all kind of similar approaches. I thought that was pretty funny. Speaking of Pro League teams, Evil Geniuses, some official roster changes to discuss. So Nature is gone. He's at least moving to their reserve roster. He was their IGL for the last couple of seasons. They've now decided to go in a substantially different direction. And, well, as Evil Genius is saying in the reply, so this is kind of funny, really, pending Riot approval. It's like, what needs approving? They're getting rid of him, right? They're benching him. So, what, are Riot going to say no? You can't put him on the bench? Like, no, right? So, I don't think I've ever seen that before. It's just such an Evil Geniuses thing to tweet, because usually a team announces a player joining and they say pending Riot approval, they've got to give the final sign off on the contract. Okay, fair enough. But in this case, it's like, what do you mean it's pending approval to drop a player? I've never seen that before. So anyway, just an Evil Geniuses thing. It's not like there's going to be any problem there. But he's been benched. Com's coming back in, probably as the in-game leader. We think the full team is going to be this. Com as the IGL, Okonos, Superman, and Bao, with DG Zan rounding out the team as well. So actually a really exciting team. I'm very much looking forward to watching Evil Geniuses play next year. Another pretty exciting team is this. So Gentlemates have confirmed their roster for the new season, and it's Starkzo, Bipo, Mini, Martine, and Glyph. Now, again, these are a bunch of players who have a lot of potential promise. Like, Gentlemates, for all their faults maybe, they do form teams that will be interesting to keep an eye on, because, yeah, this team could be all over the place. I think it's cool that Bipo gets the promotion. He's been doing some good things for the last couple of years in VCL. Glyph, I think, as well, is a player with some promise. But yeah, Starkzo's here, probably in-game leading the roster. Martine's back in business as well. Mini kind of rounding things out. So they've got their keynote in a couple of days where they're going to confirm everything. But what they do have is everything lined up now for the Valorant roster. So yeah, is this team going to last the year? I don't know, but it's going to be interesting to watch their progress anyway, because it's certainly one of the teams of all time. We'll see how Gentlemates got on. They've got a substantial staff as well behind the scenes. But it'll be interesting, right, to think about what the Koi guys think about this, having been kicked out of the league in favour of Gentlemates, whether they can do a good enough job to justify that. Let's talk about a couple of tournaments, because there was a sit-down with 100 Thieves management, Sean Gares and that. They were talking about what's been happening lately, and, well, there was this paragraph that was kind of interesting. I confirmed with Rob Moore, Sentinel's CEO, legendary content creator, as some would say, that we will be attending the next Sen Invitational or Sen City event. I don't want to misname it in any kind of way. That'd mess up their branding. But, yeah, we'll be playing in the next Sen event in early December, which is presumably in a couple of weeks. So this is pretty interesting, right? And this is fantastic, right? Sentinels, if this is indeed the case, I mean, even if it's not, it's still very true that Sentinels have done a sensational job supporting the scene over the last couple of years. This year, the off-season is shorter than normal, right? Champs was later. The season gets underway a little earlier, so we've not got that long really to go until everything's properly back underway. So less time than normal maybe that needs to be filled with off-season events. But Sen have run the Sen City Classic now a couple of times. They are apparently going to run another Sen City Invitational, or just Sentinels Invitational, I'm not so sure. The last time they ran a Sentinels Invitational with that particular branding rather than a Sen City Classic was back in 2023. They had a group stage with Moist, Shopify, G2, Oxygen, and Sen. And then Sen went on to win it from Oxygen Esports in the final. Of course, those Oxygen Esports guys went on to do some rather interesting things. Scuba, Redux, Verno, Mitch, and Dapper was the team at the time. And of course, many will remember this very legendary Sentinels lineup as well. So I thought that was pretty cool to see. Again, the Sen City Classic had 4 teams there. The Sen Invitational had 4 teams as well. So maybe this new Invitational will be similar, or maybe there'll be more to it as well. I will share this other clip though from Ludwig talking about the Ludwig Tarek Invitational and why that's not going to be happening this year.
I need more wood too. Just to watch, think of the prime. When is Ludwig Tarek? All right, guys, here's the news. Ludwig Tarek's not happening this year anymore. All right. I do think it was one of the more fun off-season events. It was a lot of fun to do the first 3. But, you know, due to some shit, we weren't able to make it happen this year. It is what it is. There's still a lot of great events. Look, literally same weekend as Ludwig Tarek. Game Changers is happening. There's a cool ass event happening, all right? And maybe we'll bring it back, but it won't be this offseason. There's not any grand reason as to why it didn't happen. You know, just time gets away from us sometimes. And it's not an easy or cheap thing to set up. And I don't think me or Tarek would like to do it unless we feel like we can do it right, and we didn't think we could.
Is it possible that EnVy turn up at this year's Sin City Classic? That's also an interesting question, but we did have some scrim bucks to say with regard to EnVy right about now. So Sentinels were scrimming, they were up 14-5, so they've been looking pretty good. They were up 8-5 on SR as well. They were getting some scrims in there because that's where Ion might be going. It's kind of difficult to say right now, but Xander, Satellite, Exa, Odorous, etc. You know, lots of interesting options. They were doing a little scrim against Sentinels. But speaking of Ion really and what's going on with EnVy, because they need a couple of players. The big rumor was they're going to get Kesnit, right, to help round out their lineup because they need to replace Kane, they need to replace Ion, they need a couple of players. There have been some rumors, you know, what about Ye? What about Demon1? Could they not be interesting options? The answer is probably yes, but not necessarily the top considerations of the team right now. So Extra, Poppin, and of course Inspire, they are the trio. They need a couple of players. We think that Kesnit is going to be there. But again, it's like, is Kesnit for sure going to be there? Is he one of the two, or is it just a trial at this point, right? So we see that Inspire, they were playing with Rossy. So this is really interesting. Again, it's like if Ye, Demon1, those type of players considered or not considered, Rossy's another option to absolutely keep in mind. And well, looks like Rossy has been playing with them over the last couple of days. They didn't have a great scrim set here, at least in terms of the results. We can see, well, Poppin, Extra, Inspire, Rossy all playing together with Stunner. No sign yet as to what's going on elsewhere, but Mitch, we just talked about, he's got a roster, he was putting in some scrims. They did, however, go on to play the same team that Sen was scrimming with T-Dog on that. They went up 14-5 here. So, yeah, maybe there is some life in that lineup yet. They also played Cloud9, who, yeah, C9 have not been... Their scrims haven't looked great. I mean, again, it is just early season scrims. But I've not seen too many scrims where Cloud9 have been like, wow, that was a pretty good result. They were down 5-10 to EnVy right here, Inspire, also on the other side of things. So tweet your thoughts and all that stuff, as always, in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.